What's up, everybody? Joe Carlton here with the Sports Affiliation. Welcome to Aces Up Podcast, episode 25. Tonight, I will be joined by fellow high-stakes players Joey Brown and Josh Bolling. We're going to get a couple of key takeaways from Josh from Week 13 Sunday's games, Friday, Thanksgiving slate, whatever he wants to share with us. 3 takeaways since he was not part of our show last night. He had to miss. He had work obligations, so we got him in here tonight on Aces Up. We'll get his 3 key takeaways. We'll go over some potential Week 14 waivers. We'll discuss general strategy, getting your roster prepped and finalized for the fantasy playoffs and the 3-week shootout, high-stakes shootouts. And we'll take any questions that you have in the chat. So, as always, grab yourself a cold beverage. Get comfortable and enjoy the show. All right, guys, Week 14 is here. Last week of the regular season. Some fantasy playoffs will start this week, depending on what league you're playing in and how things are run. But for the most part, last week is here. How you guys doing? How's your fantasy teams looking? You guys got any sweats this week? Anything you need to win your leagues or get into the playoff spots? Why don't you guys share that? We'll start with you, Joey. How are your teams looking, man, going into Week 14?
Primetime is in 4th in the points. Don't know if I can get in or not, but Silver Bullet's in the 4th place. But from 2nd to 4 is 9 points. Separate those 3, and then 5th place is still in it too. He's got 1,817 points. So I still got hope. That's all we could do. You just got to give yourself a chance. That's really what we all play for. Is you may not win them all, but give yourself an opportunity. That's all you can ask for. I mean, it's up to we'll see what happens, but you have to have it. You just have to give yourself a chance and grind it out each week, and don't never give up. Set your lineups. Don't matter if you are in bad shape or out of it. There's still best records on the line. Some people don't set lineups, and I don't believe in that. I don't believe, even if I have bad teams, I still set them.
Play spoiler.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta keep up with it just for integrity purposes.
Exactly.
You don't want to be that guy that just dumps your team once it's out of contention. I mean, you could be, especially if you do it too early. It could be like Week 7. Like I had a couple of teams around 5th to 7th place in Week 7, and they're up at 2 of them are in 2nd place right now, and I'm competing for not only a league prize but a shootout spot as well. So you got to keep the grind going. All it takes is to put a string of weeks together with decent scores, and you're right back in it. Obviously, if it's you're talking about now and you're 100-something points out, obviously, your hope is gone and that team is dust. But you should definitely still put in a starting lineup. You wanna keep it authentic, keep the integrity of the entire league and the contests going. Don't give anybody a free pass. Put your best lineup forward and try to ruin somebody's day, I guess, because they're gonna do it right back to you when they get the opportunity to, because that's what you do. You play to the end. So what about you, Josh? You and Dan have some teams in contention. Give us a quick rundown of what you got going on going into Week 14.
Yeah, we got our primetime team. It's tied with another guy on the record, and we are right there in second on the points with a narrow separation there on points. We can't. I don't think we can get first in points, but we can be there for the shootout or whatever. And then in our online championship, we've got a team that's in first, tied with record, but we've got a sizable lead on the points. So we just need to not have multiple Amon Ra's or anything like that this week. Those crazy goose eggs that come out of nowhere. But yeah, it's still a sweat. You grinded all year and have been grinding for 13 weeks and just want to at least see it through to the playoffs. And it's Dan said it earlier today. He's like, it's almost like you can't breathe easier because you're in that grind for the championships and trying to win the playoffs, but it's like you get a little bit of weight off your shoulders because okay, we made it to here. So so that's what we're sweating out this week is got two of our teams up there in the running. So
nice.
You are 100% right. If people has not tried this and do it, the grind of getting there is brutal, but it's such a relief. I think it's so much easier. And I know people will say, well, you're playing for $250,000. It's so much easier just setting the lineup, not trying to see what your opponent's got. It's so much easier going through the shootout. I mean, you'll finish where you finish, but sometimes it's almost like playing a DFS lineup. Where do I want to be different at? Okay, it's quarterback. Let's say Jordan Love or Jared Goff. Just throwing names up there. If there's more people who out there's got Jared Goff, I'm going to go Jordan Love just to hope to catch an advantage and move up the standings. It's so much easier in the last 3 weeks, but getting there, it's brutal. I mean, it's
you
fun.
can play safe, and and finish in the middle and feel good about it. Or like you said, you can take a risk on a couple positions, or if you've got somebody that's different that's got a good matchup and roll the dice and or you link together a big stack DFS style and hope that it just pops.
One quick thing what was talking about, I'll make it quick. 2020, Russell Wilson was actually good. It was COVID year, so I won the primetime league with him. Got in a shootout. Granted, now there was no people hardly in the stands in 2020. It was a $3,000. It helped me win $3,000 extra by playing in the last week. Kirk Cousins on Thursday Night Football in the Superdome outscored Russell Wilson. He had the Rams that week. But there was no stand, so you know how loud it gets in the Superdome. So that's the reason why I said I'm going to do it. It catapulted me up to 7th overall. That I finished 7th overall in primetime. But you have to get different. You just can't go chalk all the time.
No. There's a lot of when you're in the shootout, you're competing against teams from other leagues, and of course we're sharing players, especially the superstar player, the high value players. You're sharing across the board. Those are the ones that become the most chalk. So you do have to have a little bit of uniqueness to your lineup. So that those are all good thoughts, Joe. I was going to get into general preparing strategy, but first I want to talk about the couple of teams that I have going in that are I'm sweating out for a league title. I have 3 online championships teams hovering on second place. They're either first place in record or second place in points or first place in points, but there's somebody with a better record. I have a chance to win the league prize in 3 of them outright, depending on how this week goes. So it's a big week for me. The 4th online championship team I have, me and Steve split. That pretty much got second place locked up. First and second like first place has a huge cushion on second place, and we got a real almost a 90-point cushion on between second and third. So it's pretty much how it's gonna fall. We pretty much locked up second place in a spot in the shootout. So I'm looking to get 4 teams into the shootout, into the 350 online championship shootout. My one primetime team that I drafted live in New York ended up losing this week. So Glenn caught me in the standings. We're both 9-4 going into week 14. I have to win and he has to lose. I think that's my only option of getting a league prize and or getting into the shootout. I'm 9th in total points in the league, and I don't think it's possible for me to reach the top 3 in total points. So my only way in is winning my matchup and Glenn losing. I don't see it happening. Glenn's got his teams rolling. If he wins, he pretty much locks up first place and wins the New York live prime time. So congratulations to him. He's got a great opportunity to do that. And that's pretty much where I'm at in my high stakes teams. Still alive in Scott Fish Bowl. Shout out to the sports affiliation crew, Cubby Strickland, JC, and we're still in. We made it to week 14. Coach Craig, sorry, brother, you got eliminated this week, but you had a great year. You made it this far. I know you said that you've made the playoffs every single year you've been in it. I think it's either 5 or 6 years. So congratulations to that. I've been in it 3 years and I've made the playoffs 3 years in a row. This will tie the furthest that I've made it. So if I can get through this week, then it'll be a new high benchmark high for me in the Scott Fish Bowl. So hoping to keep that going. Let's get into some, Joe, general strategy for finalizing your roster for the 3-week shootout. Now, the leagues we play in, the high stakes contest, the rosters freeze after this week's waivers. We get 2 waiver runs, the Wednesday night and the Saturday night, to finalize your roster. After that, the playoffs start, the shootouts start. No moves are allowed. I know some confined leagues that are confined to one 12-team league might still allow free agent moves for teams that are in the playoffs. So this will be kind of hard to navigate. So we're strictly targeting those that where the rosters freeze. Joe, what's your general strategy? You can go into how many defenses you carry, kickers, quarterback strategy. We already discussed a little bit of the uniqueness that you need in your lineup for the 3 weeks. So give us some any additional thoughts that come to mind.
Defense is crucial. That's one good thing that we play in NFFC. In the past, before they changed it, I would carry 2 kickers. Now you don't have to do that now. So that's the luxury of having team kicker. So that's a good thing. The key to it is like, okay, you say Justin Herbert owners that's got 2 quarterbacks. You may want to go out to the wire this week and pick a third one up. Just in case, let's say you're going to shoot out and you're locked out. There you are. Then your other quarterback gets hurt and Herbert goes back out again. Then you haven't got nobody. So based on your injuries, what you're looking at is really what you got to boil down what your roster looks like. Do you need an extra? This is the week to do it. Last week of waivers. You need an extra running back. You need an extra. If you got 2 tight ends that you don't like, go get a third one. At least carry 2 defenses, in my opinion. You don't have to worry about the 2 kickers now, just one. Or if you got an outdoor kicker, team kicker, go find one that's got good weather. I mean, start looking at that if you want to change kickers, like indoor, outdoor, good weather, bad weather, little things like that. But you may have to have a third quarterback, or if you're healthy in quarterbacks, then go out and get them Malik Davis in case of Javonte Williams don't get him. Just players like that. Just whatever your roster needs, but at least carry defenses, at least 2 or possibly 3, depending on how your roster is made. But like I said, definitely the Justin Herbert owners, I think you need to go get another one just in case. The way he plays, he gets hurt just as much as Joe Burrow does. Joe Burrow gets the bad rep, but Herbert's just as bad. I mean, I don't know how many times last year he had the padded glove on again?
Yeah, he was banged up all year last year. It
Yeah.
definitely affected his performance.
He had ribs at the beginning of the season last year, broken finger the year before.
Yeah.
He's been able to play through his is the difference between him and Burrow. Burrow's been more season ending or
right.
designations.
Both of us bad luck.
Yeah. I know me and Dan a couple years ago, we went into the playoffs and we had two healthy quarterbacks, right? And as you got to look at, where's your quarterback? Where's his team at in the standings? Are they looking at playing two games at the end of the season that don't mean anything? So that when you go into week 17 for that championship round, is he playing in a meaningful game? Is he in a position where he could get benched? I think it was 2 years ago, we had a team that as we went into the playoffs, everybody was healthy. Jalen Hurts, it was like week 15, Jalen Hurts tweaked something and he goes down. Week 16, our backup quarterback went down. So there we go. I mean, we were already busted in week 16 anyways. We had to go into week 17 with no quarterback. So, you may want to handcuff one of your quarterbacks with their backup.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah.
No, that's one strategy of doing it. I personally, when it comes to kickers, I'm pretty much always looking for domes. I want to see guys that are in a dome because you don't know what the weather or the wind's going to be, but in a dome, you're not dealing with wind or rain or cold. So I know Dan's a big fan of the mile high kicker. He likes for the distance, but I like to look for dome kickers. A little better consistency, but
especially this time of year,
Yeah.
Nice.
Everything else, I pretty much agree with Joey on though. On just looking to handcuff people and even if it's I know we're going to talk about waivers in a little bit, but even if it's not like a handcuff to a running back, but find that wide receiver that might be the magic wide receiver,
right? That
if somebody gets hurt, he's going to be the immediate guy to step right in and take advantage of that spot. So
it's just like what you're talking about, wide receiver. Let's say Devontae Adams, and you got Puka. Either team. One team's got Devontae or one's got Puka. Should one of you go out and get, say, Jordan Whittington just for the playoff purposes, in case if waivers close. If not, you can go out and pick whoever. But like you're saying, a handcuff. Somebody like that, or Pat Bryant to a Cortland Sutton, which he's played good lately. But a Trey Harris, or some of these upside stashes that we can use, who's going to get used is really key player. I mean, Greg Dortch,
players with the contingent upside.
Greg Dortch is back on the radar now. What's the injury with Marvin Harrison?
There's a chance he might be missing at least this week. Anyways, who knows what happened?
I saw a blurb that he's got a heel injury, but I couldn't. Before we went on show here, I was actually looking for that because I hadn't seen it. Somehow I missed. I've had a pretty busy couple of days, and I was trying to see exactly what that injury was. But so I don't know. We'll hear more about it probably tomorrow.
Nice. I want to shout out Dan and Wendy. Wendy Early, great person in the fantasy football space. Appreciate you tuning in and saying hello. Love you, Wendy. Dan, appreciate you watching, listening during champ practice. Sorry we couldn't have you on here tonight. I mean, we could have had the full crew. Shout out Michael Gamberg. He shot me a DM this morning. He wanted to let us know we did a good job last night on Steve's channel, and I told him we were going back live on Aces Up tonight, and he was looking forward to seeing the whole crew. So if you're listening, Mike, shout out to you, man. Hope we can give you some good advice here tonight to get your NFFC teams ready for the playoffs. I just want to add in a couple of thoughts onto what Joey said about finalizing rosters. You want to make sure that your positions have layers. And what I mean is you don't want to make it so there's a scenario where you get stuck, like where you mentioned, Josh, you went without a quarterback. I always reference my 2018 top 4 finish season when I had Jaden Blue rostered, and I was bouncing back and forth between him and Derrick Henry down the stretch, because that was the year Derrick Henry was being volatile. Like some weeks he would have a 10 to 15 point week, and then other weeks he would disappear from the game script. And it wasn't until the end of the season where, like, I had doubts trusting him as my RB2 behind Todd Gurley. So I had Jaden Blue rostered, and he kind of emerged. I'm trying to remember who the starter was initially for Houston that year, but he was emerging as a running back. So I had picked him up in like week 11, and then in the very last week, this particular week in 2018 with the last waiver runs, I went out and I picked up Deonta Foreman. He was still on IR at the time, but he was scheduled to come off during the 3-week shootout. And the week that he was eligible, I lost Todd Gurley, and he went down the very last week, and I had to choose between Foreman and Blue, and I was begging for them to activate Foreman and make him active. He ended up being active for that game, and I played him, and he scored 11.7 or 11.8 points, and Jaden Blue gave a dud with like 1.6. Foreman actually got the receiving touchdown, and that was what was my thoughts was Foreman was going to be the one that gets a touchdown opportunity, and he's going to be involved in the passing game. And so, that was a handcuff. You mentioned earlier adding handcuffs because you have to account. You can't predict injury, but you have to account possible injuries. You're not making any free agent moves from after week 14 all the way through week 17. So that's 3 weeks you go through. You got to kind of look ahead, see what correlates with your roster. If you're a Trey McBride owner, I would suggest going out and getting Elijah Higgins as a depth piece. Joe, you brought up about Malik Davis. Well, I have him when we talk about week 14 waiver wire targets. I have him listed. We can go into detail about him. Malik Davis is a great handcuff to stash, especially if you're a Javonte Williams owner and you've been relying on him all year. Dallas offense looks like it's hitting a stride, and if something would have happened to Javonte Williams, Malik Davis looks like he can step right in and be productive as a solid RB2 in a high powered offense with not a terrible defense, but a below average defense. They have been playing better lately, so you kind of want to evaluate how some of these offenses are going. Like the Vegas Raiders offense has just become like a dumpster fire. I know we're not benching Brock Bowers, but I have a little bit of concern about Ashton Genty. Obviously, if you don't have the running back depth, you're not going to bench him. But in a 3-week shootout, you got somebody that's attached to a bad offense. You could be looking at, a below average fantasy football performance from these players at any point in these 3 weeks. And that's kind of all, one or two of those. If you don't want to have too many of those, because too many of those, it knocks you right out of the contention to cash. So, you have to kind of look forward and analyze the teams, how they're doing, which guys on your line, in your lineup you might. This is how you determine when you make that unique move, that unique start and lineup move, and you get bold. You also got to pay attention to the standings, where you stand after each week, the overall standings, that is. Take a look at some of the teams, go in and view their rosters, see who they have, the teams that are ahead of you. See if it's even possible for you to catch them. A lot of the times you're sharing players. So you have to get creative with your lineup decisions in some instances to make up ground, because it's really the only option you have. Other than that, you just, if they have a 20-30 point cushion on you and you're sharing a few players, it's going to be hard to make up that ground. So you gotta look for ways to create edges each week, and that's really my last thoughts on preparing your team and navigating your team through the 3-week shootout. Anything can happen. Obviously, you got to get lucky. You have to be fortunate to not take those unavoidable donuts that happen, like St. Brown going down in the first quarter before he gets any points. Those you have to be fortunate. You got to be lucky, and you got to make the right gambles when they're called for. So that's pretty much it on that. I want to jump into some week 14 waiver wire targets. I combed through about 5 or 6 NFFC leagues. That's what I'm going by, the roster ownership. Some of these players are available in some of the leagues, and some of them they're not. But through the 5 leagues that I looked at, these are the players that stuck out to me. We got 4 teams on a bye this week. We have New York Giants, Carolina Panthers, San Francisco 49ers, and New England Patriots on a bye this week. So we got, Drake May, Jackson Dart, Brock Purdy, Bryce Young, quarterbacks that are on a bye. Running backs, you're going to be without CMC. You're going to be without Trevion Henderson, without Ramondre Stevenson, no Rico Dowdle, no Chuba Hubbard, no Devin Singletary. We know Tyrone Tracy picked up a hip bruise or a thigh bruise. I forget which. It's a midsection bruise injury. There's a chance he the bye week probably gives him enough time to be healthy. But four teams on a bye, so we'll start with the quarterbacks. You guys are gonna. So only 4 names stuck out to me: Bryce Young, Cam Ward, Geno Smith, and Marcus Mariota. That's basically what's left on the waivers. I think people planned ahead and they stashed their third quarterback if they needed one already. But Josh, we'll start with you. Any of these 4 names sticking out to you as depth pieces going forward? Are you outside of necessity? Outside of necessity, are you interested in any of this?
I guess outside of necessity, probably no. I would say Bryce Young would be the one. He kind of hit his stride last year towards the end of the season. He was benched or missed some time there for a little bit, and when he came back, he really pulled it together. Showing flashes of that again. So maybe Bryce Young is somebody. I can't remember what the Panthers' schedule is though. Mariota's going to give you a pretty good floor. I don't think that he's going to pop off with a 40-point game or anything like that. The thing to be careful with Mariota is that we don't know when Jaden Daniels is going to come back or if he's going to come back. So, if you're using him as a security blanket, hopefully you've got Jaden Daniels and that you've been stashing on your bench, and then you've at least got that. But I would say if Jaden Daniels is on your bench, you've already got Mariota there. Cam Ward's an interesting one. I was interested to see how he was going to progress after they got rid of their coach. And then last week, of course, went up against a tough defense, but last week looked really rough. And he's somebody that that I'm going to be watching as the season winds down here to see does he get more comfortable in the pocket with pocket awareness, his targets, is he throwing catchable balls, is he growing as a quarterback, is there potential for anything there next year or not? So I would probably be out on Cam Ward rest of season, but I'm definitely watching him to see how he does.
I like the Bryce Young being the only one possible as a third quarterback stash. He's given us 2 pretty good sailing weeks in the last 3. He had a 42.3 against Atlanta and a 30.6 against the Rams this past week. Threw for 3 touchdown passes in both of those games. His fantasy playoff schedule, he is at New Orleans in week 15. Tampa Bay in week 16 at home, and at home against Seattle week 17. So he does have 2 favorable matchups. Seattle a little bit tougher, but that game is also at home. Carolina, I'm not sure if they're on the cusp of a playoff spot right now. I'm not sure if
they kind of control their destiny if they can beat the Bucks. I mean, I think they're going to play them twice. They're only like a game behind.
So these are certainly meaningful games, and they should be doing everything they can to put points on the board. So I think Bryce Young is probably a possible, if you need that third quarterback, like you said, Joe. You got Justin Herbert, you got injury-prone quarterbacks, and he is on a bye week. Carolina is one of the bye weeks this week, so maybe you can possibly score them cheap.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's got all of his weapons are healthy. I think last week or the week before was like the first time all year. So everybody's healthy, and they go into the bye week. Could be interesting to see how he does.
And especially if I get Chuba more involved, like in the passing game, and then Coker looked a lot better. I think he's overtaken Xavier Legette finally. I think he's the number 2.
Yep.
They don't really utilize the tight end much either, a whole lot sometimes, but I still like Marcus Mariota too a little bit because you don't know. They've got the Eagles twice, I think, coming up. Oh, that's the only bad thing. I think Washington does.
Yeah.
But do they actually, if they keep losing, will they even risk bringing back
Jaden Daniels? He is set to practice this week in some form. I don't know if it's like a full practice or he's part of the walkthrough, but I did read today that he is. They do plan on having him practice.
A healthy Terry
practice. So,
a healthy Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz and Debo. That's a good little offense to have. They might be in some games they have to throw. And what we talked about last night, their running backs are so game scripted. If they're behind, McNichols going to catch some passes. And if they're ahead and early on, it's going to be Rodriguez. And then Bill, he gets his touches here and there. But I agree with you guys. I mean, I'd rather have Bryce Young, but I wouldn't be opposed to not taking Mariota either. I mean, especially, I don't know who they got this week, but it could be he had what? How many did he have this week? Did he have 20-some? 26, 27, maybe? He runs a little bit, but like I said, it depends on what you have to have this week. Do you have to have
Mariota did have a good he had 30.2 NFFC fantasy points, so 6-point passing touchdowns for those listening that don't play on the NFFC platform. So the quarterback scoring is a little higher than the normal 4-point passing touchdown league, and passing quarterbacks have a little bit more value than the rushing quarterbacks. So, 30.2 against Denver. That's pretty respectable, actually. He had 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. He only was sacked. He doesn't get sacked all that much. The most he's been sacked in any game this year is twice. And
but long term,
multiple times.
Long term, I'd rather have Bryce Young, I believe.
They're at Minnesota this week, at New York Giants week 15, and then they got Philadelphia and Dallas to close out the at home to close out the fantasy playoffs. So it's not a terrible schedule. The Philadelphia Dallas games could be high scoring potential. We do know that, like you said, Joe, if they're out of contention, it probably could be Mariota the rest of the way. So all good points on the quarterbacks that are available. Let's move on to running back handcuff stashes. Joe, you brought up Malik Davis already. The only other names that really stuck out to me were just Arizona running backs and Washington running backs, like Michael Carter being relevant with the injury to DeMarcado, and Bam Knight missing some time. Trey Benson could be back, but what are your thoughts on Trey Benson in the Arizona backfield? Like you said, Washington's tough to trust. It's all game script dependent. I'm not confident in playing any of the Washington running backs. So
I like DeMarcado better than any of them when he was healthy. I mean,
right, yeah.
Yeah, what's going on with Benson? Because it seemed like he was coming back 2 weeks ago, and
then he didn't even practice, did he?
Yeah, so I don't really know.
And then
wait and see.
Another name that's, I mean, I have no interest in him, but I'm going to mention him anyway because he's there and it's deep leagues and as a potential, maybe possible stash. Damian Pierce on the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you guys think about that? And while we're at it, we'll bring up Brashad Smith. What are we doing with Brashad Smith? Are we still hanging on to him? Is he one of the guys we might be looking to dump off of our roster to add somebody that correlates with our team better, like a handcuff or a third quarterback or a third tight end or a third defense? Is he somebody expendable, or are we still holding out hope for potential late season production? What's your thoughts on that? I know I dropped him in the prime time. Modica went out and picked him up for $1. I don't blame him. He had the space for him. But I still have him on some of my teams, but in my prime time, I dropped him. So, what's your thoughts, guys? Brashad Smith.
Go ahead. I'll let you go, Joey.
Well, all thing I can say is he's probably one I would probably cut. There's probably more productive players on the wire. At least, let's just say, if you've had him this long, you might as well keep him too. If you had him the whole time, but he is one that I could get rid of based on he's froze. So if he goes off in week 15 or 16, 17, he's been froze. You know what I'm saying? In the shootout, he could be a player that's dropped a lot this week.
I mean, yeah, that's what I
was based on a need, just a need that you have. I mean.
Yeah.
You need people.
That's what I was going to say. There's layers to this, and it's like you said. Is there somebody else on the waiver wire that correlates to your team better? There's it. So another layer to it is if I can't get the handcuffs, then is there somebody on the waiver wire that's a part of an offense that can pop? Is Brashard Smith in a position to where who would have to go down for him to really get to be on the field? Damian Pierce, same way. Is it Kareem Hunt that's going to have to go down for Damian Pierce to be in there, or would Pacheco just get more action? It's an Andy Reid offense, so it's a little bit complicated too. Right. And I'm not sure what he's scheming as we go down the stretch, but I know one thing: that offense has to put up points because they got to win ball games if they're going to make the playoffs even.
Right.
So I would keep him if there wasn't somebody better or a better fit for my team. So,
and I'm gonna throw this name out there based on what Josh just said, and this is a totally different position. I ain't trying to get away, but would you rather have Hollywood Brown over Brashard Smith just because they're 6-6, and Mahomes has never been out of the playoffs? I don't think it's going to be on his shoulder. Say if Rice goes down or somebody.
Well, here's the real question: If Brashard Smith goes off week 14, are you going to put him in your lineup week 15 over guys that you've been starting? No, not unless there would have to be a couple injuries there before it would be just a desperation play still, because it would be that one game. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know. It's really just about how it fits with your roster. I feel like,
Right.
on whether you keep him or not.
And another thing too, about what like Josh said, he really didn't capitalize on nothing whenever Pacheco was out. I mean, he really didn't win.
He had I'm trying to think. He had the one game where he either got no targets whatsoever or didn't get involved at all, or maybe he dropped a couple targets. Can't remember. But other than that, when he gets the ball, he's explosive. But he just doesn't get opportunities. There's something there that Andy Reid doesn't trust him or something. So
Kareem Hunt just won't go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's over with this year for Brashard Smith, and it probably was over with sooner than I decided to accept that. But you got to be careful, because a lot of, like, there was a year that, the year that Damian Williams popped, he was dropped in a lot of leagues right around this time, week 11, week 12, and then he came out of nowhere down the stretch for the Chiefs in that year, and he was a fantasy monster in the shootout. He had a couple of 30-point games. So, but obviously, it's different context then. They were more injury riddled. They didn't have two active starting running backs like they do now in Pacheco and Hunt. So, yeah, Brashard Smith, pretty much toast.
But I will say this, though. If you got the room on a dynasty roster, you may still want to add him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dynasty's different, Joe.
Yeah.
We're talking. Dumping on some. You got to make room if you're going to finalize your roster with pieces that may become relevant, with high contingency pieces, with those third and fourth in the pecking order of wide receiver pass catchers that are on their team. These are the guys that you're making room for to stash in the event that they get an opportunity down the stretch after free agency closes. You know what I mean? At least you have.
I would probably say, I don't know how much he's available. I don't know if a lot of people's dropped him. He's been awful, but Ray Davis would be another one to add back.
Yeah, he's been dropped. I seen him in a couple of spots. I didn't really mention him because I think it's the James Cook show. But but like you said, as a handcuff, if you have a James Cook owner,
he looked better than that.
And you're not deep at running back, you might want to handcuff him, just in the event that something does happen to James Cook during the 3-week shootout.
Yeah.
But we're gonna move on to wide receiver. As I just mentioned, you want to target those third wide receiver 3s and 4s of their respective teams, 3rd, 4th in the pecking order as far as target share goes. These are the players that have contingent upside in the event of starters missing time, injuries happen. We know that every week. It's a week to week during the season, so you're preparing for a 3-week stretch where you can't make any moves. So these guys increase in value. Some of the names that stuck out to me when I combed the waivers were Isaac Tesla has an opportunity now with Amon-Ra. Although I did see that there is a slight chance Amon-Ra plays this week. I don't think it's a long-term injury, but Tesla is definitely somebody that you need to be going to add right now, because Jameson Williams, as good as he's looked, we know that he can disappear from time to time. So, and Tesla seems to get a touchdown every time he has an opportunity to get on the field more. So Tesla carries value. A.D. Mitchell is somebody I seen on the free agent list. Joey, you mentioned them earlier. Pat Bryant. What are your thoughts on some of these guys? We'll start with you, Joe. You can talk about whichever one you want. Pat Bryant, A.D. Mitchell, Isaac Tesla, even Devon Vele, Dontavian Wicks. Kyle Williams from New England, Tyler Lockett from Vegas. These are all available in a lot of NFFC leagues. Are you interested in any of these players?
I think it's Mitchell for volume alone, which now he could go back if they bring back Garrett Wilson. He'll be the 2 probably. But the guy from Detroit probably a 1 week fill in possible. Dontavian Weeks is like fool's gold. I mean, talent is there, but there's so many wide receivers there.
And you got Jaden Reed coming back into the fold too. Possibly at some point here in the next couple of weeks, he should be back.
Also, Mike Evans is slated to begin practicing this week, so if he's actually available in one of my leagues, I'm not going to say which one because I'm going to be going after him for sure. But
I kind of like the guy from New Orleans a little bit too.
Devon Vele, he had a huge week.
Definitely a connection with him and Shuck there. That's definitely worth a shot.
He's probably the best of the bunch. But, well, Mitchell's probably, but like we don't know when Garrett Wilson's coming back.
George Pickens is flirting around with some kind of calf injury, and that can be if he was to tweak that and it be any worse. We saw Flournoy come in earlier in the year for CeeDee Lamb, and Prescott really liked him. He had a couple really solid games there. Another guy is, don't pick on me because of he's a Bengal, but everybody looks at Yoshevich, but it's Tinsley because against the Patriots, Jamar Chase was out and Tinsley got the targets. Last week, Higgins was out. Tinsley got the targets. Now, there was a lot of 50-50 balls that Burrow was kind of throwing up to him and this and that. And but he's talented, and the Bengals coaches like him. Burrow's got confidence in him because he was throwing to him. So that's the guy right there. Maybe tease out for another week and that's it. But that's an offense that has to score points. They've got to win ball games. And if T. Higgins was to be out for a while, or God forbid something happened to Jamar Chase, but one of those guys, Tinsley's the guy that you could plug in, and I think he would be, 6, 7, 8 targets a game.
I agree. We talked about him last night. He had like 9 targets. The box score didn't show up, but
did Dan bring him up? He stole him from me. I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, he has been getting the targets for sure. And I actually prefer him over Fant and Gesicki. I feel like when Cincinnati plays a matchup that where the tight end gets smothered by the defense, it's the only time that he really goes to the tight end is when it's an easy matchup, I feel. So I think Yoshivas and Tinsley both have the edge over the tight ends as far as pecking order goes after Jamar and T. So
Zach Taylor comes from Sean McVay's tree, and something that I've noticed, we're playing 4 tight ends just like the Rams are doing. But if you've got a tight end that gets those 2 or 3 targets on that first drive, you can almost lock it in that he'll be lucky to get another target the rest of the game for the Bengals. Yeah. They just disappear after that. I don't understand it, but whatever. It's crazy trying to figure out which tight end it's going to be that's going to be the one to stick out there.
Speaking of tight ends, let's jump over to potential tight end waiver wire targets. I seen 4 names that stuck out to me. AJ Barner, Taysom Hill, Evan Ingram had been dropped recently in some leagues, so he could be available. And then Kobe Parkinson from the Rams with Tyler Higbee on IR. How do you guys feel about Kobe Parkinson? Joey?
Good offense to have a piece of. I mean, he's been doing a lot better. He's been more involved of the 4. He would be I actually have added him a week or 2 ago. Parkinson, Josh knows more about tight ends. He deals with that. He can probably help us out more on this.
Parkinson's actually they got Arizona this week, Detroit, Seattle, and Atlanta down the stretch. I believe Detroit is gives up points. It did pretty good matchup for the tight ends overall down the stretch. Seattle a bit tougher against the tight ends. Atlanta also a bit tougher against the tight ends, but Atlanta was more strong defensively early on in the year. I feel like they've kind of taken a step back, so I think that number could be more favorable. That matchup could be more favorable now down the stretch as opposed to when it was earlier in the season. So I wouldn't count tight ends out against Atlanta,
No.
especially with Matt Stafford throwing the football. I mean, talking MVP potential, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who. I don't know who in the comments there. Pitts, Strange, or
Bob. He hit us with this question last night on Steve's channel, and we all went with Brenton Strange, I believe. We talked it out. We decided that he's got the best matchup in what's his name? Parker Washington picked up an injury. Brian Thomas has been non-existent. Strange has been kind of a security blanket for Trevor Lawrence. And I'm pretty sure he's got the best matchup of the four, of the three.
Probably more trustworthy right now too, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I think so. He's part of the. I mean, Pitts is part. Atlanta's offense isn't terrible, but Penix. There's a ding with the Kirk Cousins. The quarterback is what's hurting the Atlanta.
They got the Seahawks this week too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be. I would have to go Strange, but I wouldn't be too upset with Juwan up against the Buccaneers. Juwan and Chuck they've got a history together. He's going to still be targeting him, but I think it's definitely Strange. I do like going back to our question. I like Parkinson. When you've got Stafford, he's going to figure out ways to get his guys the ball. We talked about Ferguson a week or two ago, and Terrence Ferguson. He gets more of the deeper passes for the tight end. But he does like Parkinson, especially there in the red zone, to give him a shot. Darren Waller's one that I don't know that I particularly love, but he is back, and if it's anything like what it was before his injury, he's going to see a couple red zone targets or end zone targets a game. So he'll be touchdown dependent, but other than the two big tight ends, pretty much they all are this year. You know what I mean? They're all 8 or 9. If you can get 8 or 9 points out of a tight end, you're like, all right, we did it. We had a decent week there.
Nice. All right. So
I don't know if you can trust Evan Ingram either. He had a good week. I don't know if is he all the way healthy now. It would be nice to see Evan Ingram be something, but I don't know if you can trust him with that.
No, but if you have a roster that has a third tight end spot open and you don't have like a Tyler Warren or a Trey McBride or a Brock Bowers, if you've been floating back and forth between the two tight ends that you do have rostered, I'm not opposed to adding them as a depth piece with the rosters locking and the Denver offense being kind of a wild card.
If you've got Nix as one of your quarterbacks, you could add him, and then there you are. You're going into that last week, and you need to have a big week for the championship week, and you've got Sutton or whoever you can throw in there, a Denver stack, and just hope that it blows up. So
right,
yeah, I'm all for that. I misunderstood what we were doing there, Joe.
Well, I will tell you this. So I'm looking at DraftKings on DFS. and I think they made a mistake a little bit. But going back to Bob's question, Kyle Pitts' opponent rank is Seattle's 29th against a tight end. Jawan Johnson, New Orleans, Tampa they're 14th against a tight end. So it's about a medium matchup. But Brenton Strange is 20. They've got them listed as 29. So one of them should be 28 or 29. So actually, all three's got a pretty good matchup this week. I see where he's coming from. I think I've even went back and looked. Seattle does struggle a little bit against the tight end, but like I said, I don't know.
It's the junk points after they get that lead.
Yeah, and then plus you have to watch the injury reports this week. Drake London may be back too. So with Parker Washington being out, I think Brenton Strange is probably the safest of the three.
Nice, and he hit us with one more. He says, Neil, Corum, or Rodriguez, pick one. If it's for this week, I would say Devin Neal, but I think rest of the season, I lean towards Corum. I believe he's got a more of a contingent upside in the event Kyron with a missed time. He gets plugged in as the starting running back in the Rams offense, and that's a good place you want to be.
He's been looking good when he gets his opportunities.
Yeah, and I do think Alvin Kamara is slated to come back at some point, whether it's week 15 or week 16. I think as soon as he's healthy enough to come back, it's Devin Neal is going to be almost all the way phased out again. I don't think Devin Neal doesn't really move the needle for me. Somebody you can plug in this week out of necessity, sure. There's bye weeks, there's injuries. He's getting the volume. He's getting enough volume to at least give you, a floor score. So if it's for this week, I'll roll Devin Neal. But
if Rodriguez don't fall in the end zone, he don't catch passes. I mean, he's got to get in the end zone in order to have a good week. I mean, he can get you, 60, 70, 80 yards, maybe 6, 7, 8 points, which that's still decent. But really, his day depends on if he falls in the end zone.
All right, so I'm gonna rattle off a couple of players and team situation offenses. If you guys, I want to know if you guys think that they're trustworthy down the stretch, or somebody you might be shying away from going forward. We'll start with New York Giants running backs: Tyrone Tracy, Devin Singletary. Did any one of them do anything for you? We know Tyrone Tracy picked up an injury. Singletary is the goal line back and I suppose the third down back. Tracy's looked good past couple weeks coming in. We'll start with you, Joe. Any thoughts on this here? Are you trusting anyone for your playoff stretch?
That's a tough one. Singletary, I guess, if he's healthy, but I'll speak for me. I've got Tracy on my Silver Bullet team, and I have to keep him. I mean, I'm going to keep him. But
right. No, I'm talking about their outlook, though. Like, what do you think of their outlook?
I don't know. That's really close. That's a good question. Singletary's probably better in the passing game, so I probably would go Singletary.
Nice. All right, Josh, you have any thoughts on?
I'm all right with Singletary. I mean, in that game the other night, he didn't look too hateful. I mean, he's running hard, catches the ball. I mean, he can get you some points. So.
Right. Yeah, I think the upside is capped though, for sure. Unless he has that 2 touchdown game is probably only giving you a floor score. All right. Next two names is Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson in the Minnesota offense. Joey, are we trusting stud wide receiver that we took in the back end of the first round throughout the shootout?
I guess it really depends on your option. I mean, it's almost to the point, and I would usually tell anybody right now, trust your process and trust what's got you there. But Justin Jefferson's not getting you there right now.
He didn't get you there.
No.
Carson Wentz helped
No.
early on.
Yeah, he did. I thought you have to
Steve.
bench him. I'll just go ahead and say it. I think you have to bench him and Addison.
Nice. So I want to note their matchup. They got Washington this week. They're at Dallas week 15, at New York Giants week 16, and then Detroit at home week 17.
Gosh.
So the schedule is beautiful. I think we might have to just click on Justin Jefferson at wide receiver and just close our eyes and hope for the best, to be honest with you. I don't know if I'm sitting him unless I'm really stacked at the wide receiver position. Jordan Addison, on the other hand, he's I don't know if we can trust him unless it's out of necessity. That's my thoughts on that. Josh, what about you?
Man, I don't really want any part of that, but I guess it depends. I mean, if JJ McCarthy is back, then maybe you just sit there and you hope that something clicks. But if it's Brosmer, I think I'm out.
Yeah.
And that's a tough call, but it's hard to say that you've got somebody else better on your team. But I mean, we've got 13 weeks of data now, and we've got 4 or 5 weeks in a row. I got to go. I think I'd have to go, especially if it's Brosmer. I got to go away from Justin Jefferson.
I'll go back I'll say one more thing about it before we move on. This week is win or get in, or I probably bench him. Jefferson, I'd probably throw him out there in a shootout, hoping he'd blow up. If people bench him, I don't know how many teams would have him in the shootout.
I know. This is also a
if
valid
you get a
point.
Justin Jefferson team to the playoffs, I don't know.
Nice. I know Frank Amarante got a team that finished in first because he was bragging about benching Jefferson a couple weeks ago, and shout out to him for doing that, and it was the right call because that was when it was actually a decision. Now it's like almost like it's okay that you benching him. But a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks ago, it was considered a bold call, I suppose. Shout out Steve. Steve says I'm the Singletary whisperer. I certainly am. I convinced him to start. He wanted to roll with Jordan Mason and Brian Robinson and shit this past week. I said, "What are you doing, dude? We got Devin Singletary. Let's just get the 10 points and we'll experiment with Jordan Mason and shit, like Brian Robinson in a snow game." No, it's Singletary. He Patriots give up rushing touchdowns because we're nearly impossible to score a passing touchdown on inside the 10-yard line. That's how I see it. So Singletary was the call, man. That's it. But all right, I'll move on to the next grouping I got here is Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Jacoby Brissett. Are we trusting? So I have a couple of teams that Brissett carried, and I threw in. I ended up using Michael Wilson a couple of weeks too. I ended up having that because I did a Kyler Murray, Trey McBride stack on one of the teams, and the other team I just had Trey McBride and only Dak as a quarterback. So I added Brissett as a depth piece, and I started him a couple of weeks. He came in handy. We relying on Brissett and these guys throughout the playoffs and the shootout. Joe's nodding his head. Yes.
He's been a top 12 quarterback. I mean, you have to roll with him. Justin Jefferson would love him.
Who do they play week 6? Is it? Let's see here. We're 14, 15. Who do they play week 16? I think it's week 16 or 17. Might be championship week. It's Dan's Cincinnati Bengals defense. Who's terrible against tight ends. And Jacoby Brissett's going to have an absolute game, and so is Trey McBride that week. But I mean, if it's Harrison or Wilson or whatever, I mean they're going to be firing the ball. moving forward. So I'm in. I'll ride that in DFS every week too until it just burns me over and over.
Well, week 15 they got a tough matchup at Houston. Week 16 Atlanta at home, week 17 Cincinnati. So 2 out of the 3 weeks are looking good. They got the Rams this week at home. That's probably a bit of a tough matchup. So 2 tough matchups in a row, but the last 2 weeks of the playoffs the Arizona schedule pretty friendly. So all right, let's see what I got next on the list. I got Devin Neal. I already gave my thoughts on him. You guys have anything to add about the Devin Neal, Alvin Kamara situation? No. All right. How about Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle? What are we doing here? Are we?
I'm Team Hubbard. I have been the whole time. I think he looks like the player I drafted earlier in the year. I think that
he's all the way healthy now.
Yes.
Yeah, Rico was great. And I think that there's a right recipe on that. Damn.
Don't make me put you in Steve's corner, Steve. I'll have to send him the picture. There's a corner store. There's a corner store right next to my barber shop, and it's called Steve's Corner. I took a picture of it one day, and I sent it to Steve, and I said, every time you steer us wrong with the lineup decision, I'm going to send you this picture. Put you in the corner. That's funny, yeah. But yeah.
No, I'm the same way. I think Hubbard is looking great, looks healthy again. There's a place for both of them, but I'm more leaning Hubbard at the moment.
That'll be an interesting split. The teams that make the shootout, how many's got Hubbard and how many's got Dowdle. I mean, Rico's got you, helped you get you there, but
they're on bye this week. But then they got week 15 at New Orleans, week 16 at home against Tampa, week 17 at home against Seattle. So overall, I'd say that's a pretty good schedule. Seattle in week 17 makes it a little tougher, but
it's in Carolina though, right?
Yes, it is in Carolina. Yeah, their last 2 games in the shootout in the playoff weeks are at home, 16, 17, and their road game is against the Saints. So not too bad, pretty good. It's going to be, the team I have, Rico Dowdle. I have to play him because it's a 0 RB team, and he's one of the 2. He's in my top 2 pecking order, so I'm probably going to roll with him in hopes that he gets the hot hand. But I think it's truly a 50-50 split down the stretch. They both, Rico's done enough throughout the year to say that he's earned the role. Chuba looks fresh. He looks healthy. He was the initial starter. He's coming off of a good fantasy performance. He's averaged 5.3 yards per carry over the last three weeks. He gave us 20.4 fantasy points last week. He was, involved in the pass game, 2 catches, 41 yards, and a touchdown. So Chuba's looking like he is the hot hand at the current moment, but I believe it's a 50-50 split down the stretch. Obviously, that caps both of their ceilings, but out of necessity, you probably they're both trustworthy RB2s, I would say.
Absolutely.
With the fairly friendly schedule. Next on my list I have is Dalton Kincaid. Joe, how do we feel about Kincaid? I know he is positive outlook for his return to action this week. Does he take a week or 2 to get back into the swing of things? How does he fit into this Buffalo offense? And are you confident playing him as your tight end 1 down the stretch?
Yeah, I believe you have to play him. I mean, based on I think you do. I mean, he's got the Bengals this week. I mean, if he's healthy enough to be out there, I think you play him. And the Bills just ain't got nobody. I mean, they need Kincaid back bad. They need him back. But Shakir, I thought he was, the one, but they need him back. They need Kincaid back. I play.
There's no rhythm there. Like, you know what I mean? Like there needs to be some rhythm in the play calling, and get something going, split it up. And I don't know. Shakir, one catch for 5 yards last week, I think is what he had, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's crazy. But yeah, they need somebody to step up, and it seems like Kincaid. Hopefully, he'll be the one.
Every time he gets to that point where he looks like the guy, he goes down with an injury, he picks something up. It's almost like he can't get that type of volume consistently.
And Dawson Knox didn't pick up no slack either since he's been off. I mean, he ain't really done nothing either. So
their fantasy playoff schedule for tight ends is actually pretty good. They got they got Cincinnati. Not if you have the playoffs this week, Cincinnati is a great matchup. We know that.
Yeah.
We got to make sure he's active. Week 15 at New England. We know New England gives up points to the tight end. Week 16 at Cleveland. That's a little bit of a difficult matchup, but week 17 at home against Philadelphia, although they have an overall pretty good defense, they do give up points to the tight end. That's kind of where they're kind of what they give you. They take away the deep ball. The defensive backs are good at making plays, breaking up passes, and taking shots at interceptions and reading the play, and they do a good job getting after the quarterback with just their linemen. So it's just, of course, that leaves tight. They kind of leave you underneath in the tight end. They make you dink and dunk your way down the field to score on them. That's their game plan. Sirianni's a conservative offensive mind. They like to win by controlling the time of possession and limiting their opponent's big plays. So tight ends do find success against Philadelphia at times. So, Kincaid does have a pretty good schedule down the stretch if he can stay healthy, if he can come back healthy and step up for Josh Allen. So, all right. Next on my list is the Bears running backs, Monangai and DeAndre Swift. Is this a headache? Are we trusting them as RB2s? Do we like them in the flex? Joe, your thoughts?
I think so. I think you have to play them both. I mean, you're looking at, they're not the same players, but it's the same. He's using them like Gibbs and Montgomery, and when he had them in Detroit, that's just his coaching style. That's his coaching, what he believes in. So I think you have to play both of them.
Yep, Monangai 22 carries last week, 12 before that, 12 the week before that. He's got a rushing touchdown in 4 consecutive games. He's definitely RB2 range. DeAndre Swift, let's take a look at some of his usage recently. He's also getting 18 to 20 carries per game. He is only got 1 touchdown in the last 4 weeks. So Monangai's kind of been the touchdown guy, and Swift is more the pass catching back, the slasher, the outside runner. He did have 125 yards on 18 carries last week, as well as a touchdown. They found great success running the ball against Philadelphia.
He's more like the Gibbs, and Monangai's like Montgomery. I mean,
right,
offense,
right, light. Of course, they're not.
Well, they're not as good. I don't know if people believe that, but that's what his scheme is. That's what he brought to Chicago. So,
yeah. Their playoff schedule: they got Cleveland at home, Green Bay at home, and then they go to San Francisco week 17.
Tough.
So definitely a bit of a tough schedule. I will say this: I do think Green Bay can be run on, but again, it's going to be game script dependent. Is Chicago's going to need to be playing either a close game or with the lead. If they fall behind to Green Bay, then I could see Monangai being phased out of that game script.
And y'all both know this. I mean, it's not really nothing major, but in Chicago, you're going to start running the ball. As colder it gets, whether both of them is going to be viable plays down these shootouts. I mean, the weather's going to start getting bad in Chicago, so both running backs hold value. I'm using both of them.
Nice. I like the call, Joe. I would just temper the ceiling expectations. Don't expect the 20 to 25 point game every week. They're probably more of a floor play than a ceiling play, but with some ceiling potential based on how the game goes. Just a couple more things here. Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin. Who do we like either one? Are we not confident in either one going forward? Let's take a look at Denver's playoff schedule real quick before I get evaluations. We got week 15 home against Green Bay, week 16 home against Jacksonville, and then week 17 on the road against Kansas City. So three pretty tough matchups as far as past defenses go. Green Bay, Jacksonville, and Kansas City. The fact that week 17 game is at Kansas City makes it a tougher matchup. So are we in on Denver wide receivers? Are we trusting either one of them, or are we just keeping them as stash pieces in the event we need to make a desperation play like Josh mentioned earlier with a Denver stack?
They're hard to figure out. I mean, before you used to think, okay, Courtland Sutton is the guy, but I mean, that's almost like Green Bay wide receivers to a point. I mean, you don't know who's going to pop off, but you still got Troy Franklin with the college. Did they play college ball together, him and Bo Nix? They still got
yes. Yeah, they have that chemistry.
And then you still got Pat Bryant.
And then Courtland Sutton finally showed back up this past week. I mean, it's a very inconsistent passing offense for sure.
Yeah.
I will read this. This is credit to Dwayne McFarland from Fantasy Life, who does an awesome job on the utilization.
He does.
Report.
Yeah, he does great work.
Here's what he put down this week. He said, Pat Bryant surpassed Troy Franklin for wide receiver 2 role coming out of the Broncos bye week. The rookie posted a 77% route participation rate, 17% target versus 67 and 7 for Franklin. He said Bryant enters wide receiver 5 territory and could continue to climb with more playing time. He's available in 98% of leagues, whatever he's talking about. But he did play more than Troy Franklin did this past game.
Right. I agree with that. I think he is trending up over Troy Franklin. Josh, you have anything to add there?
I really don't. I think they're stash pieces myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have both of them and you need to start one of them, do your homework on what the matchups are, and then trust your gut and go with it, because I don't know that anybody really might know the right answer just yet. So that's just my personal opinion. You got to trust Nick's too, Peyton's play calling and things like that. So,
before we would think Sutton was the alpha.
The nice thing for Denver though is they've got such a good defense that defense should keep games in check. And unless they run into a juggernaut that's going to be able to shut down their run game, they shouldn't have to be too dependent on their wide receivers to be in a big shootout game in theory. So there is that.
All good points, guys. Good job. One more guy I want to touch on before we move on to the Thursday night game, give our props, and then we can get out of here. Jalen Coker. Joe, your thoughts on him? Do we like him down the stretch?
I do, based on like what Josh talking about. We liked Bryce Young, so I think he's a number.
Easy now.
I like Bryce.
You like Bryce Young out of those 4.
Right.
We ain't saying that in
This
case
is a
somebody
good
just tuned
offense.
in. We ain't saying that we really love
we
Bryce.
we like the playoff schedule too. We
Yeah.
like the playoff.
This is a good offense to have a piece of. I mean, Ted McMillan was out there. He's going to be your alpha, but I think Coker's passed up Leggett finally. He's finally turned the corner, I believe. I believe he's got it. I like Coker down the stretch.
Nice. Josh, your thoughts?
I'm fine with Coker down the stretch in that offense, and he's healthy. I'm good with that. I think he'll reap the benefits of a good run game and Tet being the alpha and drawing the main coverage.
Two good matchups at New Orleans week 15, at home against Tampa Bay week 16. I think that those could be fantasy friendly games. I really like Jalen Coker based on the fact of he's probably going to be have a low starting lineup rate in the shootout. I think he could be a potential difference maker. He could be that flex that gives you a 20 to 30 point ceiling game and can make up some ground for you. Now I don't know if I trust him all 3 weeks, but I think he's somebody. If I roster him, I think I want to get him into the lineup at some point during the shootout. Especially, I would target those, that week 16 Tampa Bay game, maybe the week 15 game against New Orleans, coming off of a bye. Maybe not that many people are going to trust him. Again, a lot of these shootout teams they're loaded, especially those teams at the top, probably not even considering playing Jalen Coker. So, this is somebody that if you're in the middle of the pack or down towards the bottom of the standing, somebody you might want to gamble and roll the dice with, and could be a potential difference maker for you based on low ownership. But that's it. That covers the list of players that I wanted to go over. We got Thursday night football. It's Detroit versus Dallas. Joe, just give us some quick thoughts on the Thursday night game, how you see it playing out, and throw out a prop bet for us.
I think whoever's got the ball last is going to win this, and it's going to be a fantasy bonanza shootout. I mean, you're going to play. I think Dallas goes in and wins that game, especially if Amon-Ra's out. I think they go in there and win, unless Dan Campbell tries to keep the Dallas on the sideline. It could be another Montgomery week, and Gibbs, of course. But we'll see how they do with time of possession. But I think Dallas can go in and win. Dallas' defense is a little bit better now after the trades they made. They're a lot better. And actually,
last 4 weeks, they're not
a bad defense to pick up either for down the stretch.
Last 4 weeks, they're number one against the run.
Yeah,
last 4 weeks.
That trade made a huge difference. Getting those two interior defensive linemen. Detroit's in a different position from where we've seen them for a couple of years. They kind of got their backs against the wall. They're not in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
They don't have Amon-Ra, their most consistent offensive weapon, for 2.5 years now. So it's going to be interesting how they handle it. I think they would like to run the ball, keep Dallas off the field, and just control the pace of the game. Maybe switch it up from what we're used to seeing with Detroit. Like, hey, let's just get this win and go home, get Amon-Ra back in 10 days, hopefully, and then attack that week. Dak's got to step up and be that quarterback. It's a big game, and it seems like Dak struggles in big games. Did fine against Kansas City. We need CD to be able to catch the ball. He did all right against Kansas City last week, but let's just get rid of all those drops that we were having. But yeah, it definitely has the potential to pop, and I hope, for the sake of just fun fantasy and it being a Thursday night, that we get to see a good game. But there'll be points. I don't think it's going to be defensive slobber knocker either. So
No.
Right.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you, Joe. I think Dallas pulls this one out. Their Russian defense has been real good the last 4 weeks. If Detroit's formula to win this game is going to be able to have success running the ball, we know that they have Gibbs and David Montgomery, probably a little bit better than what Dallas has faced the last 4 weeks. But at the same time, Dan Campbell's gets aggressive. Sometimes he leaves points on the board by doing this. He'll get a go for it on fourth down. Maybe they don't convert. They haven't converted fourth down. And I think it's hurt them in the past few weeks as opposed to how they were early in the year and towards the end of last year. Their fourth down conversion percentage is down overall. If they leave 3 points on the board and Dallas comes back and scores, now they're chasing the time, they're chasing the clock. So that'll pull them out from running the football. It'll take them out of that winning formula that they need. There's just too many variables, I think, for them to overcome beating Dallas, especially with Amon-Ra most likely being out.
That be what y'all think Deron Bland will be on Jameson Williams? I mean, will they bracket him? Maybe not. I mean, the deep threat. I mean, that's their main go-to guy in the passing game if Amon-Ra's.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to see a lot of Gibbs. I think Gibbs is in for a high volume week.
I think Montgomery will have to be heavily involved in this game.
I think Montgomery probably gets a few more carries this week because Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be involved in the pass game. He's going to be utilized.
He will.
Both ways, running the football and catching the football. You got any prop for us, Joe? Did you pick out a player prop?
Yes, I'm going to go with George Pickens, 20 plus receiving yards in the first quarter.
There it is. There it is. Joey wants to get it over quick this Thursday.
I just want to get one right.
I know, right? It's tough. It's tough. We're trying to predict what happens. It's not easy.
I know. Dan said ladder the Gibbs yardage.
Yeah, he did say that last night.
He's right at 30 and a half yards, something like that is his over-under on yards. So when I saw that, I was like, all right, that seems like Vegas has that a little low. I thought it might be a little higher than that. So I like that. Gibbs's receptions are 4.5. I don't know that I would want to go that high. But Dan said ladder the yards. So give Gibbs the over 30.5. And the stat line or the prop's not out yet. It'll probably come out tomorrow night or Thursday morning. I'm looking at Kennedy, who came in, caught 4 catches for like almost 40 yards the other day. He was the guy that filled in. Raymond's out. Amon-Ra's going to be out. J-Mo's the main target. Tesla's going to get a couple deep targets, and with Brockright and Laporta out, Kennedy's going to get some dump passes there. He'll kind of be the odd man out on where the defense is focusing. I'm going to say they're going to set it at 2.5 catches for him, and I'm going to say hit the over.
Nice. All right. So what I like in this, I know you said, Josh, you didn't like the receptions. I actually teased it up a little bit. I like Gibbs at 6+ receptions, plus 152. I think he's going to be highly involved in the passing game. I think he's going to have to be. I don't think that Detroit's going to be able to run the ball successfully and play with a lead. I think Dallas is going to be able to move the ball at will against Detroit's defense. His game is being played indoors in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. And then the other one that interests me is David Montgomery, 40+ rushing yards at plus 115. That seems like a pretty safe one. If I'm right on the game script, then I could see that happening. As far as an anytime touchdown goes, of course, I'm gonna target the Tesla at plus 200. I feel like anytime gets the opportunity to play more snaps, he's getting a chance in the red zone for sure. Could be a garbage touchdown at any point. I mean, I wouldn't even mind throwing a first touchdown bet on him as well, because I do think with Laporta out and St. Brown out and J-Mo being the deep threat guy, they really don't have a red zone option other than Tesla and Jahmyr Gibbs. So I'm cool with throwing something down on a Tesla or anytime touchdown. And
aside from the parlay, this might be that game where you go over to specials and you go down and find touchdown thrown by anybody other than a quarterback. Because where the Detroit Lions are going to have to throw everything but the kitchen sink. If the Cowboys can come out and score on them, then Dan Campbell's going to roll out the whole playbook. And you're either going to see an offensive lineman catch it, or you're going to see
Montgomery throwing a touchdown pass.
He tried it last week. He was a quarterback here in Cincinnati at one of our high schools.
Yeah,
that one last week was a little rough. It wasn't as pretty as the one he had against the Bengals, but they'll roll the playbook out. Should be good.
Nice. Yeah. With that being said, that makes Montgomery a viable fantasy option. If you have him, plug him in as your RB2, even as a flex. I think he's flex worthy. I think he's going to have to certainly be involved. Dallas's defense has been very physical, and when they play a physical defense, Montgomery
It's time for him to step up.
He gets the carries. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been. I was reading a little bit ago. 7 weeks since he's had 13 points or more. So it's time for Monty to step up with these injuries that the Lions have. Yeah.
All right. So we're at an hour and a half. We touched on a lot of things. We hope we helped you get ready for your fantasy playoffs, for your NFFC, FFPC high stakes shootouts, whatever you play in. Weeks 14, 15, 16, and 17. That's what this show is all about. Trying to finalize your roster. If you're just tuning in late, go back and listen. It was a real good show. Appreciate you guys joining me and talking fantasy football tonight, keeping the aces up going. We're gonna get out of here. We'll be back on next week. Aces Up Tuesday nights, same time, 8 p.m. And then on Monday nights, we're on Fantasy Savvy YouTube channel, Steve D'Angelo's channel. Shout out, Steve. Thank you for letting us roll Monday reaction show on your channel. So, we're bouncing back and forth 2 channels, trying to help out everybody and have a great time while we're at it. Appreciate the chat. If you're not subscribed to the Sports Affiliation, definitely subscribe. We get shows every week, sometimes more than one each day. I know earlier we had Snap, Crackle, and Pop with Rick Bruce Wellis and Greg Kellogg. That was a great little 10-20 minute segment. Dennis Michelson was out tonight. We had the Professor fill in for him. Professor's always a great time on the podcast. So definitely tune into the Sports Affiliation. Hit like this video, like this show. If you enjoyed the content, hit us, give us some comments, hit us up with some questions, anything that we haven't done, maybe you want to see in the future. Give us some suggestions. We're always open to feedback, both positive and negative. It helps us grow as a group and as a show. We want to give you what you want to hear. So that's pretty much it. Josh, Joey, thank you. We're going to call it a night. Everybody have a good week. 14.
Good luck.
See you, boys.